It's a cliche, but comedians are often seen as truth tellers. They highlight the hypocrisies that are arguably essential to the stability of our institutions and our society in general. Comedians also have the freedom to transgress. They're expected to question or break taboos. Let's take a look at an Eddie Murphy bit from 1987, where he's talking about Bill Cosby, chastising him for not having a clean act. And as we subsequently learned, there's nothing more hypocritical than Bill Cosby moralizing to anyone.
And I never said no filth, flaring filth. He says, you know what I'm talking about. I can't use the type of language that you use, but you know what I mean when I say filth, flaring filth. And I said, I never said no filth, flaring filth, and I don't know what you're talking about. I'm offended that you called fuck you. And that's when Bill got pissed and said, that's what I'm talking about. You cannot say fuck in front of people. And I got mad. Because he thought that was my whole act. Like I just walked out on the stage and cursed and left. And I managed to stick in some jokes between the curses. You couldn't give no curse show or walk out and say, hey, felt forum, motherfucker, dick, pussy, snot, and shit. Good night. Good night. Suck my dick. Bye-bye. I was pissed off. I was so mad, I called Richard Pryor's house up and said, yo, Richard, Bill Cosby just called me up and told me I was too dirty. And Richard said, the next time motherfucker call, tell him I said, suck my dick. I wanted to be Richard so bad, I used to go out on stage when I was 15 and talk and act and walk and do everything like Richard Pryor. My mother would sit there and watch her little 15-year-old son on stage saying some outlandish shit. My whole act back then was about taking a shit, because that's all I had done at 15. That was my life experience, but it sounded like Richard Pryor jokes. I'd be going, you ever like sometime, right, you get on that toilet and when you shit, that water splash up on your ass? Don't that make you mad, right? You know what really make me mad is when shit come halfway out your ass, then go back up in that motherfucker. Right?
In the past, when everyone was wearing a suit or a uniform, and there was a strong sense of decorum and taboo, crass humor serves a purpose in that it undermined hypocrisy in society, exposed uncomfortable truths, and illuminated the realities of our lived experiences. But nowadays, arguably, the mainstream is not formal, conservative, and hypocritical. The mainstream is a bunch of lazy hedonists who just want to vape and order Uber Eats and go on swingers cruises. Let's take a contemporary example. Mark Normand and Joe List.
He loves a hard, flat, cold surface. This is basically like an operating table over here or a butcher block. You give him a bed with some fluff, he's out. He wants that hard.
Interesting. Well, I like it hard. Now, you said cum guzzler. Have you thought at all, maybe the wife's away, the mice will play. Have you thought about putting a little cum in his dish to see what happens? Or maybe a direct hit into that, soaky tongue?
I wouldn't mind shooting it right into his eye to see how he handled it. But they got that hard tongue. I already tried that. That didn't go well. That tongue is like sandpaper.
Right. I thought about it when I had the mouse in entrapment or whatever. I thought about coming in the hole to see if he'd enjoy it. Because I bet he'd like a little semen. I do.
That feels like a comic book origin story. Like, how did the mouse man come? Well, a lanky, tall guy with a type 2 mouth shot a huge load into a tube with a mouse in it. He shook it up, and then here comes Mouse Boy.
Yeah, mighty cum.
Yeah. Here I come to save the... All right.
It's more whatever it is.
Right. Hold on. All right. But let me just say this. I had nothing after that. Yeah. But sorry. That was a squeaker. Yeah. We had on a mountain, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, we'll see you next week. Love
That's good.
Well said.
Yeah, Mark, I can't take this. Is what I'm talking about. This is some shit you'll never see on a black podcast.
She's trying to talk about her journey to weight loss.
Put poot out of his ass. And he know I'm the wrong one to do that shit too. I went and took a shower to come here from the gym, and you gonna
I shot it
raise
that way.
your little stink ass up.
So now, with this kind of humor, aren't Joe and Mark just preaching to the choir? Hasn't this kind of humor lost its edge? Here's another example. David Mamet, the much lauded American writer, his recent appearance on the Bad Friends podcast.
See, I think you're close. I think if your penis is too big and you show your penis on a live show, it's rude.
Yeah, it's rude.
I think if your penis is too small, it's fun.
Yes.
But if you have a regular penis, that's brave.
Am I regular?
Yeah.
You are.
You're regular.
You're
Oh,
regular.
thank God.
He has a
My dad used to say I was small the whole time.
Well, your father was an alcoholic.
My dad did that.
Beat you with golf clubs. So what does he know?
My dad did that.
Guys, am I having a fucking time war?
Sorry, Dave.
I mean, it's like when I was a kid, I started doing this shit. They'd say, "What do you think about Mark Twain?" Now we're talking about your dick.
Sorry, Dave.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dave. That's my fault.
I'm sorry,
So I
David.
brought it up.
Yeah,
My
What do you
Things
think?
change, right?
What do you
My
think
fault.
about Mark Twain?
This is a great point, especially making it sitting on a blow-up chair in a podcast studio. With the decline of newspapers, magazines, and TV, and the rise of social media, the cultural gatekeepers and the arbiters of so-called good taste are gone. There's no longer such a clear division between high and low art. This is good in that it undermines pretentiousness, but it can also encourage pandering to the lowest common denominator and the excessive commercialization of the media space. If we look at this clip again,
That's crazy as hell. And this is exactly why people be getting murdered on the train because of shit like that. That's insane.
the female guest's response is great. Mark, this is why people are stabbing each other on the train. So what she's saying is that without any decorum, repression, and hypocrisy, society breaks down. This is interesting because Joe and Mark talk about this a lot on their podcast.
But here's the real problem with society, and this is the bigger issue. Everyone's entitled, everyone's up their own ass, and they think they don't have to do anything more than they want to do, but they want people to do more than they want for them.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
You know, like,
And I was like,
that's great.
I'm not trying to be an asshole, but I'm like, you have a red light. You can't, this is why, and I go, this is why it's all like this.
Yeah, we're living in a society. Yeah, so you gotta, we're living in a society. You gotta think about other people, I guess.
We are. But anyways, it was a fun.
Like many things in Tuesdays with Stories, this is a reference to Seinfeld.
I've been standing here for the last 10 minutes.
I won't be long.
That's not the point. The point is, I was here first.
Well, if you were here first, you'd be holding the phone.
You know, we're living in a society. We're supposed to act in a civilized way.
So what we see in Tuesdays with Stories is that contemporary society is less repressed, the notions of decorum are less strict, and people are more entitled. Thus, there's more potential for social conflict. These are just observations. I like all of these comedians, except Cosby. All right, to summarize. In the past, comedians often relied on crass humor and taboo breaking to expose the hypocrisies embedded within a conservative and repressive society. Such humor served as a mirror, challenging social norms that were necessarily hypocritical, since societies require certain unspoken rules to function. However, the cultural landscape has shifted in the 21st century. Today's mainstream is more open, hedonistic, and less burdened by shame or rigid moral constraints. As a result, contemporary comedians using the same crass humor are often preaching to the choir rather than subverting the status quo. The transgressive edge of comedy has dulled because the societal taboos themselves have evolved or eroded. This raises questions about how comedy can maintain its critical bite and relevance when the boundaries it once pushed against have moved or dissolved. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The good comedians always find the edge.